Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and would you look at that? Borderlands 4 sales were a little softer than we would have liked due to PC performance issues, and that is coming directly from Take-Two's CEO in Strauss Zelnick. Now, again, this game is selling objectively, I would say fairly well, if you compare it to other games that have come out. However, you do have to remember, as from Randy Pitchford, that this game cost a lot more money to develop than Borderlands 3. Just like, most games coming out now versus games that came out in 2019. Game development size, for the most part, there have been instances like Ghosts of Yotei, which was said to be around the same development cost as Ghost of Tsushima, but it seems like, for the most part, game development costs are going up across the board, and the game dev times are so long these days that just doing fairly well, especially, it's all relative. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky doing the numbers that it did, it's fine relative to what Legend of Heroes pulls. Borderlands 4 doing the numbers that it does, and it did fairly well. 304,000 concurrent Steam players, and I bring that number up because it's the most publicly available data set that we have, but I feel like it's a relevant data point that we have. That does seem to be pretty good. I would even argue that, like, when I saw 300,000, I'm like, that's fine, but it's not, like, a blow away for a game at the level of Borderlands. And some people wanted to say, oh, it's way higher than Borderlands 3's Steam concurrent player count. Two factors completely eliminate that point. First of all, PC gaming has exponentially grown since 2019. Oh, and by the way, Borderlands 3 was a timed Epic Game Store exclusive. Like, when you're dropping a game on a delayed release, it's always going to see a sharp decline from where it could have been if it saw a day one release. Borderlands 4 was a day one release. So Strauss Zelnick, in an interview with the Games Business, noted this: equally, as you know, there were some challenges with the Steam release. Gearbox has been addressing those challenges and will continue to do so. So in terms of units sold out of the gate, the numbers were a little softer than we would have liked. In the fullness of time, we think it's going to do great. I really wonder how you assess that. I don't think this game is going to do astronomically great numbers over the course of the next 6 months. I don't think that the DLC coming out is going to surge those numbers quite a lot, even if the PC version gets better. Do I think the numbers over time are gonna increase over the course of 4, 5, 6, 7 years? Yeah, I do, because there's gonna be a time where the Super Deluxe Edition is down to $10, $15, and I do think a lot of people are going to pick it up at that point, but that's ultimately not what Gearbox and Take-Two wants. They don't want, the bulk of the sales to come from when people buy the game at $10 to $15, or a large portion of it. I do think for the foreseeable future, unless it sees a steep discount, which it'll see discounts, the base game will probably go down to, what, $40 by spring of next year, around the time more and more of that DLC content comes out. But is $40 enough to get a wave of people to jump into the game? Maybe it will be, but I think people are smart enough to realize that if they want all the content, they gotta get that Super Deluxe Edition. Is the Super Deluxe Edition gonna be 50% off for $65? Maybe, it might, and that might cause more people to pick it up, but I might also be over pushing on the level of discounts that we're gonna get, but the game was already on sale, and it just came out, and it was on sale, like, what, a month ago? And I think this is a game that's gonna see pretty big discounts, and isn't that a bit of an indictment on the game itself? Borderlands 4 always had a big goal in mind when it came to stuff like the Super Deluxe Edition. It's one of those games that people were gonna come back to. I wouldn't take the Steam concurrent player count as far as the fall off. The game peaked 2 months ago when it came out at 300,000 concurrent players. It's now at 12,000 players. Okay, people beat the game, they move on with their life. This is the course of life. I would say, that's a sharp decline, being down to, what, 5% of your initial peak player count, but that's to be expected. People beat the game and then they move on. This is the natural course of things and how that goes, but I think there is this expectation and that people are going to come back for the DLC, and they will to an extent, but do you really think it's going to be a ton of people? Do you think, for example, this game is going to go back above, let's say, 120,000 concurrent players? I definitely don't think so, and I feel like that is going to be one of the most interesting things to monitor is how much of the player base comes back for the DLC, because I think they're in for a bit of a rude awakening if they think it's a lot. And I know it's anecdotal, but I've talked to so many of my friends that picked up the base game of Borderlands 4. They paid the $70, and not one of them have told me they're gonna go back. They beat the game and they're like, yeah, it was fine for what it was. I'm moving on with my life. And when Borderlands 4 gives you that kind of reaction, and this is across the board that I've personally noticed. I've also noticed, you know, the online, there are definitely people, and they really enjoyed the game and so on and so forth. But when I look at my comment section, when I look at the people that I talk to, and that's a very, very small sample size, I get that. But a lot of the times, whenever I talk to people, and I do talk to a decent amount of people, we're talking about like 15 or so people, which, again, it's very, very small sample size. But I've noticed it's not the most difficult thing in the world to gauge the interest level of a game. You know, am I sometimes off the mark? Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I am mostly talking to people playing the game on PC, so I know there's this wildly different perception of the game on PC versus consoles. But even, like, a lot of my buddies that played the game, they don't have these sky-high expectations out of PC performance out of the game, and that's not to excuse Borderlands 4's performance. They just are okay with lesser performance, and their issues with the game and their rather mild opinion about the game wasn't from the performance. It was about the quality of the game. Again, they beat the game, and it was just like, it's a serviceable game. It's Borderlands, and shouldn't Borderlands 4 at this point inspire more than that? If it's a $130 game, and it's this game that's gonna get a ton of DLC, it'll probably get a second DLC season pass. Shouldn't it inspire a little bit more than that? And it's as expensive of a game that it was to develop for. I feel like it should. I am sure 5-6 years from now, we'll get reports of there that Borderlands 4 sold X millions amount of copies, and it'll be optically a really successful number. But I do think that a lot of those sales are going to come on the back end when the game is heavily discounted. Maybe it gets baked into a humble bundle, and I think there will be a ton of sales on that. But ultimately, how many people are buying the $130 edition? How many people will continue to buy that edition for the next, 6, 7, 8 months as the DLC is coming out? I think the next year, I don't foresee there being this gigantic spike up of sales, even if the PC version gets better. I feel like, people kind of know what it is, and it's on to the next. Gaming is something that moves very, very fast, and Borderlands 4, I don't think is going to be this game that keeps people invested for the long period of time. I think, a couple years from now, it'll be at a heavy discount. I'll make my, oh my god, it's at a historic low game deal video, and yeah, people will buy it then. But I think for the next 6 months, year, I don't think people in droves are going to be running out to buy Borderlands 4. But that's my opinion. I've been wrong in the past. We'll see how this one turns out. Let me know your opinions of the game. And I do think, Randy Pitchford, I don't think your social media meltdowns did anything for this game. It's at 63% positive, 36,000 reviews, 63% positive. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world. An 81 on Metacritic, but the Steam reception, 63% positive. But it's like, dude, that absolutely affected the performance of this game. If nothing else, the optics of this game were really bad when it initially dropped on PC. And I beat the game. I had a fun time with it. Like, I had a Borderlands time with it. It's totally serviceable. Would I spend $70 on it or $130 on it? Absolutely not. I appreciate, 2K and Gearbox sending me a copy of the game, but I absolutely cannot recommend spending that kind of money on the game, especially at this stage of the game. I would say wait for all the content to come out, wait for the potential of a second season pass to come out, and then the super duper ultra deluxe edition being heavily discounted for $20-30. Yeah, buy it then, but you're not going to see that for quite a while. It'll be 3-4 years minimum until something like that happens at that price point. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Always interested to hear from you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.